Hello, my name is Timothy Colpitz, and today we are going to talk about how to use a software called MatterControl. First things first is we need a file to use in the software. So I'm going to use a Tinkercad house. So this is my house that I designed, and it also has the Tinkercad logo on it. So I need to download it. So I'm going to go and I'm going to click on Design, and I'm going to download it for 3D printing. The file format that I need to be read by the printer software is a .stl. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to download. Give it a second and there we go, it's downloaded. So let's go into MatterControl. First things first, let's talk about the different things you can do in MatterControl. So let's start by going through File. You can add a printer, you can add a file to the queue, and you can have different design codes. In the view, you have Settings, Control, and Terminal, which we can see over here. And then you have a Help tab. So let's get started. I have a calibration block right on my print area right now, and I can generate layer views, or I can see it by 3D view. I am connected to a PrinterBot Simple, and I can see a live reading of the extruder, and I can go ahead and I'm going to preheat it. So while it's heating, let's go over some of the tools of MatterControl. So let's go, and we have the queue, so this is all the different objects. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add, I put it on my desktop, I'm going to add my Tinkercad house. I'm going to pull it up. It's a little too big. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click on Edit, and I want to scale it down to 75%. There we go. Now that fits on my print area. So let's go and let's save it as, let's put it in the print queue, and let's save it as my house 75%. So I'm saving it as, so that I still have my original house file, but now I have a different one that is scaled down. So there's my scaled down one, and there's my original one. So let's use this. The printer is still preheating, so let's go over through some of the settings. When you add a 3D printer to MatterControl, it comes with some settings. So if we go to settings, you can change the quality. So Fast has a lot bigger layers, and it's done faster with smaller infills. Balanced is in the middle. It has a little bit nicer of layers, and it takes a little bit more time. And then Fine gives you those nice fine layers. It takes the longest to print. Let's go and let's click on Balanced. So we can see what our different layer heights are. The height of the first layer. We can change our infill. The infill is, I like to keep it at standard, which is about 30%. And I like my infill type to be hexagon. So let's go ahead and let's save that. The one setting that you might change is the first layer speed. Normally that's at about 30% of the actual speed. I like to bring it down to 15. That way I know that my first layer goes nice and slow, and I can get that adhesion of the filament to the painter's tape. Then you have different options for your filament and your printer. Those you won't really look around and mess with. So let's go over to controls. So over here you can see that I have an extruder temperature, and that right there is up to 208 degrees Celsius. That's what you normally want to print PLA at. Since the printer that I am using does not have a heated bed, the bed temperature is set to 0, and it will not be using that. Over here we have movement, so we can home the X, Y, and Z axes, or we can release the motors so that we can move it freely ourselves. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to home X, Y, and Z. So it's going ahead and it's doing that. You have to home X and Y first before you home the Z axes. And then I can go ahead and I'm going to move the extruder up 10 millimeters on the Z axes. I can go ahead and I can turn the fan on and off manually. During the print, the fan will turn on to make sure that the filament is cooling and it's not getting too hot. So let's go over to controls. You won't really use the G-code terminal. This shows everything that the computer is sending to the printer, and vice versa is shown up here in a way that the 3D printer can understand. So some of these codes, like M105, those are commands that it understands and really need to look into to know all of those different things. We can also go and we can turn notifications on, and I would like it to play a sound when the print is finished. You can also have it send you an email or a text message. The text message, it's experimental. From my experience, it does work, but I still like it to play a sound. You can change the language, and you can also change the color. So I want the theme to be blue. There we go, and it changes how it looks. So we are heated up. Let's go and let's get this ready to print. In my settings, I saw that I set it to balanced. So let's go to layer view and let's see how long that's going to take to print. So if I go and I click generate, what it does is it takes the object and it slices it into different layers so that it prints one layer at a time. So here we go. We have our outward skirt, and what the skirt is it's away from the object, and it primes the material before it actually prints so that you have nice smooth flow of material as it's printing. If we look here, we can see that I have my infill, and it'll go at 60 millimeters a second. This is my house. Here's the Tinkercad logo, and here's where it says my house. So different layers, about 90 layers, and it'll take about 2 hours to do this. But there's one thing that I forgot to check off when I said for it to go into layer view. If we look, there's overhang on my house. And because it prints layer by layer, it needs something to build upon. So I need to generate some support material. So if I go back to settings and general, I would like it to generate some support material. So let's go ahead and save that option. Go back to layer and let's regenerate. It'll be the same amount of layers. It'll just take a little bit longer because it has to do, as you can see, it has to do that support material. If you find that the support material isn't really sticking, you can go to skirt and raft and you can create a a raft. And what a raft is it builds material so that it sticks, and then it builds the print on top of the raft. I'd only use that if you're using an object that will have support material that's shown right here on the first layer. So let's go ahead and use that. And my loop goes around 6 times for my skirt. So let's generate one last time. I'm already up to temperature, so after this we can go ahead and we can start printing. So there we go. There is my raft. See, it does the raft and then it builds the print on top. So let's go ahead and let's start this print. Let's go ahead and let's click print.